What if I told you Invincible and Punisher One Last Kill just gave us two of the most painfully realistic portrayals of PTSD we've ever seen in the comic book media? Not just trauma as a cool character moment, not emotional pain used as a background decoration, real psychological damage. Because in Invincible Season 4, Episode 8, Don't Leave Me Hanging Here, Mark Grayson isn't just scared, he's unraveling after the Viltrumite War. And in Punisher One Last Kill, Frank Castle is trapped in a cycle of violence and grief that he can't escape. And honestly, these stories matter because they show us what happens after the battle ends.
This is the way. This is the way.
Welcome to Fatherly Fandom. I'm your host, Chris, and if you love Marvel, Invincible, breakdowns, deep dives, and all things nerdy, you're absolutely in the right place. So hit that subscribe button. Your inner nerd will thank you. And guys, real quick, when you subscribe, notifications are automatically turned off. So if you want to stay up to date with every video, review, and breakdown coming to this channel, make sure you hit that bell icon too. Now first, we have to talk about Invincible because, wow, that season finale was not a traditional superhero finale at all. Most people expect another massive action episode after the Viltrumite War. Instead, Episode 8 becomes the psychological breakdown of Mark Grayson after everything he just survived. And that's what made it brilliant. By the start of the episode, Mark is already mentally destroyed from the fight against the Viltrumites, and especially from encountering Thragg. This is important because for the first time in the series, Mark met someone he genuinely could not stop. Thragg wasn't just stronger than him, he made Mark feel helpless. And after Viltrum is destroyed and the remaining Viltrumites disappear, Mark becomes obsessed with one horrifying thought. What if they're going to Earth? What if the people he loves are next? The episode opens with what looks like a full Viltrumite invasion of Earth. Tsunamis, cities destroyed, people dying everywhere, Thragg leading the attack. And then Mark wakes up. It's a nightmare, a trauma response. But the genius of this episode is the hallucinations don't stop there. Throughout the entire finale, Mark keeps seeing visions of Thragg and the Viltrumites murdering the people he loves. He sees Debbie ripped apart in front of him. He sees hallucinations of Eve being murdered. He imagines entire massacres happening, and that's what makes this PTSD portrayal feel so real. Because Mark isn't hallucinating random monsters. He's reliving fear. His mind is constantly asking, what if I fail again? What if I can't protect them? What if Thragg comes back right now? And the terrifying part is, Mark has good reason to be afraid. Thragg is probably the single most dangerous being Mark has ever encountered. During the Viltrumite War, Mark barely survives and realizes the Viltrumites are capable of wiping out entire civilizations without hesitation. So when we get back to a peaceful Earth, he can't relax. Even normal conversations become panic attacks. Even moments with Eve feel unstable. He doesn't feel safe anymore because he knows Earth is vulnerable. And Stephen Yeun absolutely crushes this performance. You can hear how exhausted Mark is, the fear underneath every conversation, the emotional numbness, the paranoia. The episode constantly puts you inside Mark's head, and the audience starts feeling anxious too because we don't know which scenes are hallucinations anymore. That's exactly how PTSD could feel for people in real life. Your brain never fully calms down. You're always waiting for the next disaster. Then the episode delivers its biggest gut punch. Thragg finally appears for real, and Mark instantly attacks him because at this point, he's completely terrified of what Thragg represents. But the crazy part is Thragg doesn't even need to fight him. He's already won psychologically. Instead, Thragg gives Mark an ultimatum. The remaining Viltrumites are already on Earth. They plan to blend into humanity, secretly rebuild their species, and repopulate the Empire using Earth as their new home. And if Mark tries to stop them, billions die. And that is where the PTSD angle becomes devastating. Mark says yes, he has no other choice. Not because he agrees with Thragg, not because he trusts Viltrumites, because he's traumatized. He's already spent the entire episode imagining the deaths of everyone he loves. He can practically see Earth burning in front of him every time he closes his eyes. So when Thragg threatens billions of lives, Mark folds because psychologically, he can't handle the possibility of another massacre. That's not weakness, that's trauma controlling someone's decision making. And honestly, that's what makes this finale so important. Most superhero stories portray trauma like a temporary obstacle, but Invincible understands that after everything Mark has experienced, Omni-Man nearly killing him, Angstrom Levy, Conquest, the Viltrumite War, and now Thragg, his mind is damaged. He carries fear with him now. And the show respects the reality. Now, compare that to Frank Castle in Punisher One Last Kill, because Frank's PTSD looks different. It's just as devastating. Where Mark's trauma is panic and fear of losing people, Frank's trauma has calcified into emotional emptiness. He's exhausted, self-destructive, isolated, constantly medicating himself through violence, alcohol, and pills. One Last Kill strips away the fantasy of the Punisher mythos and asks a brutal question. What happens when somebody has been at war emotionally for too long? Jon Bernthal plays Frank like a man who's already been spiritually dead but keeps moving forward. And some of the hardest scenes to watch in this show aren't actually action scenes. It's the quiet moments. Frank sitting alone, Frank unable to rest, Frank trapped with his memories he can't escape. That's PTSD too. Not everybody breaks down the same way. Some people panic like Mark, some people shut down like Frank. And I think that's why both of these stories resonate so strongly, because they stop treating psychological trauma like a side effect and start treating it like an actual battle. Mark's fight isn't really against Thragg anymore, it's against fear. Frank's fight isn't against criminals anymore, it's against the damage inside. Both stories understand something important. Surviving violence doesn't mean escaping it. Sometimes the war keeps going on in your head long after the punches stop. And honestly, comic book media needs more storytelling like this. Not because superheroes should stop being fun, but because when these stories take mental health seriously, the characters become more human, more relatable, more real. But now, I want to hear from you guys. Did Invincible Season 4, Episode 8 give us one of the best portrayals of PTSD in superhero media? And which story hits harder emotionally for you? Mark Grayson on Invincible or Frank Castle in One Last Kill? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I genuinely think these stories are changing what superhero storytelling can be. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share it with another comic book fan who loves deeper storytelling analysis. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, stay nerdy, my friends, and I'll see you next time.